all our deeds that we do in Ramadan, and all the prayers that we do, and all our intentions, and all our efforts, inshallah. So inshallah, as I wanted to announce from yesterday as well, how we're going to do our Taraweh program moving forward, inshallah, is we're going to start with an English Quranic sneak peek of the part of the Quran that we're going to read, inshallah, for tonight, which is the 8th juz, inshallah. And then after that, we're going to have a talk by our Sheikh Ahmad, who will be giving it in Indonesian, and then we'll continue on with the 8 rakahs of Tarawih, as well as the witr, 2 rakahs of witr, plus 1 extra witr and the qunut, and that will conclude our night, inshallah. So alhamdulillah, we are here at the 8th sneak peek of what this Quran has for us to offer. When we're going through it with our own readings in the Quranic Arabic and in the translation of it as well. The preface that I'd like to start with, inshallah, is the passage that we listened to in the reading of Isha. So the reading of Isha, it talks about the story of Adam and Eve and their plight of going down into earth via the act of shaitan. So shaitan, the devil. Right? فَأَزَلَّهُمَا الشَّيْطَانُ عَنْهَا فَأَخْرَجَهُمَا مِمَّا كَانَ فِيهِ. So shaitan did his thing, and they were taken out from heaven into the earth to be tried. But one thing that is very interesting about that, and this juz as well, it talks about, there is an ayah, and it's in the surah of An'am. It says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وكذلك جعلنا لكل نبي عدوا الشياطين الإنس والجن. And so we have made for every prophet enemies, devilish humans and jinn. يُوحِي بَعْضُهُمْ إِلَى بَعْضٍ, whispering to one another. زُخْرُفَ الْقَوْلِ غُرُورًا, with elegant words of deception. وَلَوْ شَاءَ رَبُّكَ مَا فَعَلُوا, had it been your Lord's will, they would not have done such a thing. فَذَرْهُمْ وَمَا يَفْتَرُونَ, so leave them and their deceit. So the idea here is that we're in Ramadan. We know that the gates of Jannah are open, the gates of hellfire are locked. Who else is behind bars or shackled is shaitan. Right? We know that during the month of Ramadan, as per the prophetic narration, that the shayateen, the shaitans, the devils are locked or chained. Right? But how are we still lacking? How are we still not doing what we're supposed to do? How are we still committing egregious acts? Right? One thing is that even though shaitan is locked up, even though he's behind bars, even though he's chained up, the idea is that shaitan's effects on a person are still there. Right? So that imparts towards that even shaitan is locked up, we still have to deal with our own egos. That we're not blaming shaitan, we're not pointing the finger at shaitan anymore. We're blaming our own egos. Right? And that's something that we have to really think about. Right? I can't blame shaitan anymore. I have myself to deal with. Right? And that's tough. I have to deal with myself. That's a challenge. Right? And so something to really think about is that as a community, when we're brought up together, when we meet each other, when we interact with each other, here it says the prophets were given enemies. They were given tests of enemies were shaitan. The question here is, are we being shaitans to each other? Right? That's something to really think about. Are we being shaitans to each other? Are we dragging ourselves downwards, each other, or are we bringing ourselves? Right? Because the ideal community, inshallah, is that when we see each other, it allows us to make dua for one another. That we want the best for each other. That when we see each other, we have husnul dhan, we have a good opinion. That we want the better for each other, right? That's the ideal community and what we would like to build up, inshallah, as we build it together. Right? Versus a satanic community where we're just bringing down each other. Every time I see people, it's always pessimistic. It's always negativity. Every time I go to this place, I feel bad. I'm not in a good mood. Right? So let's, inshallah, inculcate with ourselves descriptions that are not satanic-like. Right? The idea that we're bringing each other towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The idea that when we see each other, we are reminded of God. Right? That's the goal, inshallah, of this. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that we become a community that strives towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That when we see each other, that we make dua for each other. And we make dua for those that are not here. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us, as how we say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Right? We seek Allah's protection, His refuge from the shaitan, the rejected one. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept all our prayers and make us a community that is focused towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during this month of Ramadan and outwards. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah we have Sheikh Ahmad Faris and so change of plan. So notice the Sheikh will give his talk in Indonesian after Taraweh, inshallah.